It's August 2025, and 400 feet beneath the Philippine Sea, the USS Hawaii glides silently through the darkness. Its sonar operators listening intently to acoustic signatures that could mean the difference between completing their mission and becoming a casualty of modern warfare. In the torpedo room, 24 Mark 48 ADCAP torpedoes sit loaded and ready, each one a 3,500-pound precision weapon capable of sinking the largest warship from over 25 miles away. The crew has been submerged for 4 months, but their training never stops because in submarine warfare, the difference between victory and defeat is often measured in seconds, not minutes. Welcome to the most technologically advanced and psychologically demanding form of combat on Earth, where sailors must master weapons systems worth hundreds of millions of dollars while living in a steel tube smaller than a city bus. These drills typically simulate real-world combat scenarios, allowing submarine crews to practice evasive maneuvers and execute precision strikes under various conditions that could occur at any moment during their 6-month deployment. This isn't the submarine warfare of World War II with periscope attacks and crude torpedoes. Modern submarine combat involves satellite communications, wire-guided weapons, and sonar systems so sophisticated they can identify the specific class of enemy vessel from the unique sound of its propeller. Submarine crews today fight battles in 3 dimensions, above, below, and around them, while remaining completely invisible to the surface world. They can launch cruise missiles at targets 1,000 miles away, track enemy submarines across entire ocean basins, and disappear into the depths without leaving a trace. But perhaps most remarkably, these sailors must maintain peak combat readiness while enduring months of isolation, cramped living conditions, and the constant psychological pressure of knowing that a single mistake could doom everyone aboard. They train continuously, drill relentlessly, and prepare for battles they hope never to fight, all while operating some of the most complex machinery ever built by human hands. Over the next few minutes, we'll take you inside this hidden world of underwater warfare to discover how submarine crews train for combat while living beneath the waves, how they operate, weapon systems that can sink ships from miles away, and how they maintain the razor-sharp focus needed to survive in an environment where the enemy could be anywhere and everywhere. This is the story of modern submarine warfare, where silence means survival and preparation means everything. At 0300 hours, the general alarm pierces the submarine's artificial quiet like a lightning strike. Battle stations, this is not a drill. Within 90 seconds, every sailor aboard must be at their combat position ready to fight for their lives. This scenario plays out dozens of times during a 6-month deployment because in submarine warfare, there's no time for hesitation, no room for confusion, and absolutely no second chances. Submarine warfare simulation training is a specialized training methodology designed to prepare naval personnel for the complexities of underwater combat scenarios that would be impossible to replicate safely in real operations. Picture a submarine's control room transformed into a high-tech battlefield simulator where sonar operators track phantom enemy vessels, weapons officers calculate firing solutions on virtual targets, and the commanding officer makes life or death decisions based on computer-generated scenarios that feel terrifyingly real. These training simulations are so sophisticated that they can replicate the exact acoustic signature of any enemy submarine in the world. The sonar operators hear the distinctive whine of a Russian Akula-class attack submarine's reactor pumps, or the subtle cavitation noise from a Chinese Type 093's propeller, all generated by computers but indistinguishable from the real thing. By utilizing advanced simulators, crews can practice complex scenarios that may be impossible or unsafe to replicate in real-life training, like tracking multiple enemy submarines simultaneously while dodging incoming torpedoes. The training is relentless and purposefully stressful. Instructors throw curveball after curveball at the crew, equipment failures during combat, communication breakdowns with headquarters, multiple enemy contacts appearing simultaneously on sonar. Specialized skills training targets specific areas such as diving operations, engineering systems, and weapons handling, but everything interconnects in the chaos of simulated combat. The sonar technician who misidentifies a contact could feed bad information to the weapons officer, who might then launch a torpedo at a friendly vessel. Emergency drills become second nature through endless repetition. Fire in the engine room while tracking an enemy submarine, flooding in the torpedo compartment during a weapons reload, total electrical failure while running silent to avoid detection. By simulating real-life emergencies, submariners become adept at maintaining composure and executing established protocols even when their hearts are pounding and adrenaline floods their systems. But perhaps the most challenging aspect of submarine combat training is learning to fight while living in the same confined space for months. Unlike surface warships, where sailors can step outside for fresh air, submarine crews must maintain peak combat readiness while dealing with the psychological pressure of isolation, cramped quarters, and recycled air. They practice shooting torpedoes at simulated targets while sharing bunks with their shipmates. They run damage control drills in spaces so small that 3 people constitute a crowd. The psychological preparation is as important as the technical training. Submarine commanders regularly conduct what they call stress inoculation, deliberately creating high-pressure situations to see how crew members react under extreme duress. Because when the real battle comes, there's no time to discover that your torpedo room petty officer freezes under pressure, or that your sonar supervisor can't make decisions when multiple contacts appear on his screen simultaneously. In the torpedo room of a modern attack submarine, death waits in orderly rows. 24 Mark 48 ADCAP torpedoes, each weighing 3,500 pounds and stretching 21 feet long, rest in their tubes like sleeping giants. These aren't the crude weapons of World War II that required submarines to get dangerously close to their targets. The Mk-48 and its improved advanced capability ADCAP. Torpedoes can be guided from a submarine by wires attached to the torpedo, allowing precise control from distances exceeding 25 nautical miles. The sophistication of modern torpedo warfare would seem like science fiction to submarine crews from previous generations. They also can use their own active pinging sonar or passive listening sonar to carry out programmed target search, acquisition, and attack procedures. Picture this. A torpedo launched from a submarine near Hawaii could theoretically hunt down and destroy a target near the coast of California, guided initially by its launching submarine but capable of independent operation once it reaches the target area. But firing a torpedo in modern submarine warfare isn't simply a matter of pointing and shooting. Before a torpedo is launched, the target must be boxed in, a complex process where fire control computers calculate the enemy vessel's speed, course, and depth based on sonar contacts that might be hours old. A fire control system on the firing platform will set an initial search depth range, estimated target location, and attack parameters that transform a simple weapon into an intelligent hunter. The process begins in the sonar shack, where technicians wearing headphones listen to acoustic signatures with an intensity that borders on meditation. They can identify specific submarine classes by the unique sounds of their machinery. The high-frequency whine of a nuclear reactor's coolant pumps, the distinctive blade rate of different propeller designs, even the subtle harmonics created by hull vibrations. This acoustic intelligence feeds into the fire control system, where weapons officers create what they call a firing solution, a complex calculation that predicts where the enemy will be when the torpedo arrives. When the weapon reaches this kill box, it activates its own sensors and begins hunting for a target with the persistence of a bloodhound. Modern torpedoes carry sophisticated sonar arrays that can distinguish between decoys and real targets, home in on specific acoustic signatures, and even communicate with each other when multiple weapons are fired in coordinated attacks. The torpedo's artificial intelligence can adapt to enemy countermeasures, adjust its search pattern if the initial target data proves incorrect, and execute attack runs with precision that would be impossible for human operators. The wire-guided system adds another layer of complexity and capability. Ultra-thin copper wires unspool behind the torpedo as it races toward its target, carrying real-time commands from the submarine's fire control computers. The launching submarine can redirect the torpedo to a different target, update its search parameters, or even abort the attack if friendly vessels enter the area. This connection continues until the wire breaks, either from the torpedo's extreme maneuvering or when it reaches maximum range. For the torpedo room crew, loading and maintaining these weapons is both routine and intensely serious. Each torpedo contains 650 pounds of high explosives, enough to crack the hull of the largest warship, along with sophisticated guidance computers worth more than most people's homes. The loading process requires 4 sailors working in perfect coordination, using hydraulic systems to move the massive weapons from storage racks into firing tubes. One mistake, one dropped wrench in the wrong place, and the results could be catastrophic for everyone aboard. The tension in today's underwater battlefield is palpable, with submarines from major naval powers conducting increasingly complex and dangerous operations in contested waters around the globe. Throughout summer 2024, several SSBNs conducted visible operations in multiple regions of the globe, including a deployment by the USS Tennessee that sent clear signals about American submarine capabilities to potential adversaries monitoring from thousands of miles away. In the Philippine Sea, one of the world's most strategically important waterways, submarine warfare has evolved into a deadly game of three-dimensional chess. U.S. Marines from the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit conducted advanced anti-submarine warfare training in the Philippine Sea using buoy-based underwater acoustic detection systems, deploying sophisticated sonobuoys that can detect submarine signatures from dozens of miles away. These operations aren't just training exercises, they're demonstrations of capability in waters where Chinese and Russian submarines routinely operate, creating an underwater environment where a single miscalculation could trigger an international incident. The complexity of modern submarine operations becomes clear when you consider what happened during recent joint exercises between rival nations. The Russian Navy and People's Liberation Army Navy plan simulated attacks on an adversarial submarine, practicing coordinated hunting techniques that mirror the pack tactics used by Wolf submarines in World War II, but with technology that would have been unimaginable to those earlier warriors. These exercises involve multiple submarines working together, sharing sonar data through underwater communication systems, and coordinating attacks that could overwhelm even the most advanced defensive systems. Real-world submarine operations today involve far more than simple hide-and-seek. Modern attack submarines serve as underwater intelligence platforms, using sophisticated electronic surveillance equipment to monitor enemy communications, track surface vessel movements, and collect acoustic signatures of new submarine designs. They can tap into underwater communication cables, deploy unmanned underwater vehicles for reconnaissance missions, and serve as launch platforms for special operations forces conducting covert missions hundreds of miles from friendly territory. The sonar game has become incredibly sophisticated, with submarines using passive sonar arrays that can detect and classify contacts at ranges exceeding 100 nautical miles. Sonar operators aboard modern submarines don't just listen for engine noise, they analyze the subtle acoustic signatures created by hull construction differences, propeller blade counts, and even the specific harmonic frequencies generated by different reactor designs. A skilled sonar technician can identify not just the class of enemy submarine, but potentially the specific vessel and its operational history. Stealth tactics during actual missions involve techniques that push the boundaries of physics and human endurance. Submarines running ultra-quiet can reduce their acoustic signature to levels barely distinguishable from background ocean noise, but this requires shutting down non-essential systems, minimizing crew movement, and operating at speeds so slow that a simple transit can take days instead of hours. Crews describe these stealth operations as psychological torture, hours of near-total silence where even whispered conversations are forbidden, and the slightest dropped tool could reveal their position to enemy sonar operators. The stakes of these underwater encounters are enormous. Modern submarines carry nuclear weapons, cruise missiles capable of striking targets 1,000 miles inland, and torpedoes that can sink aircraft carriers. When submarines from different nations encounter each other in international waters, the potential for escalation is constant. Professional submarine commanders follow unwritten rules of engagement that prevent most incidents from becoming international crises. But the margin for error grows smaller each year as more nations deploy increasingly capable submarine fleets. Living aboard a submarine during extended combat operations transforms ordinary sailors into something approaching warrior monks. Individuals who must maintain absolute mental clarity while enduring months of confinement, stress, and the ever-present possibility of violent death. Operational exercises are conducted to assess the submarine's ability to perform extended missions, but these assessments go far beyond testing equipment. They evaluate whether human beings can function effectively as a fighting unit after months of isolation beneath the waves. Combat readiness aboard a submarine means something entirely different from surface warfare. On a destroyer or aircraft carrier, sailors can step outside, breathe fresh air, and see the horizon. Submarine crews live in an environment where the enemy could be anywhere within a 50-mile radius, completely invisible until the moment they choose to attack. This creates a psychological state that veterans describe as controlled paranoia, a heightened awareness that must be maintained 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for the entire 6-month deployment. The program was developed to support fleet readiness by offering realistic training for naval warfighters and tactical development of maritime warfare capabilities. But the human cost of this readiness is enormous. Submarine crews during combat operations follow watch schedules that would be considered torture in civilian life. 6 hours on duty, 6 hours of training or maintenance, 6 hours of sleep, repeat indefinitely. During high alert periods, even sleep becomes a form of combat preparation. Sailors must be able to wake instantly, process complex tactical information, and make life or death decisions within seconds of leaving their bunks. The psychological pressure of submarine warfare manifests in ways that outsiders rarely understand. Imagine knowing that enemy submarines might be tracking your vessel at this very moment, planning torpedo attacks that could kill everyone aboard in less than a minute. Now imagine maintaining that level of vigilance while sharing cramped living quarters with 134 other people, eating the same meals in rotation and breathing recycled air that tastes faintly of machinery oil and human exhalation. Some sailors describe feeling like they're living inside a loaded gun that could be fired at any moment. Crew cohesion becomes a matter of survival rather than simple teamwork. In submarine warfare, your life depends not just on your own skills, but on the competence and mental stability of every other person aboard. The sonar technician who's having relationship problems back home must still be able to distinguish between whale songs and enemy submarine signatures. The torpedo room petty officer dealing with claustrophobia must still be able to load weapons accurately under combat stress. The cook who hasn't seen sunlight in 4 months must still prepare meals that maintain crew morale during the darkest moments of deployment. Training integration with actual operational deployments creates a surreal environment where the line between practice and reality becomes increasingly blurred. Crews conduct torpedo firing drills using the same procedures they would follow in actual combat, work sonar contacts that might or might not be enemy submarines, and respond to emergency alarms that could signal either a training exercise or a genuine crisis. This constant state of readiness is exhausting, but it's also what keeps submarine crews alive when real emergencies occur. The mental conditioning required for submarine warfare goes beyond traditional military training. Crews learn meditation techniques to control claustrophobia, practice breathing exercises to manage combat stress, and develop almost supernatural situational awareness that allows them to detect problems before they become crises. They become experts at reading subtle changes in their shipmates' behavior, recognizing when someone is reaching their psychological breaking point, and providing support before individual problems become crew-wide emergencies. When you consider the full scope of submarine warfare operations, what emerges is a picture of human capability pushed to its absolute limits. These sailors operate weapons systems worth billions of dollars while living in conditions that would challenge a space station crew. They maintain combat readiness for 6 months at a time while enduring psychological pressures that would break most people within weeks. They master technology so complex that a single submarine carries more computing power than entire military divisions possessed just decades ago. The evolution from World War II submarine warfare to today's operations represents one of the most dramatic technological leaps in military history. Modern submarine crews don't just hunt enemy vessels. They conduct intelligence operations, launch precision strikes against land targets, and serve as invisible guardians of international shipping lanes. Their weapons can reach any target on Earth. Their sensors can detect threats from hundreds of miles away, and their stealth capabilities make them effectively invisible to all but the most sophisticated detection systems. Perhaps most remarkably, these technological marvels are operated by young men and women who volunteered for one of the most demanding and dangerous jobs on Earth. They train for battles they hope never to fight, master skills that few people will ever understand, and sacrifice months of their lives to patrol oceans that most of us will never see. They are the silent guardians of the deep, and their dedication ensures that the undersea battlefield remains dominated by those who fight for freedom rather than those who would destroy it.